Once, in a quiet village nestled between green hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young boy named Amir. He was known for his boundless energy, natural talent, and a heart full of dreams. But there was one problem. Amir lacked discipline. Amir was the kind of person who would start something with great enthusiasm, whether it was learning to play the flute, drawing, or reading about science. But he would always leave it halfway. When he faced obstacles or when the initial excitement faded, he would give up and move on to something else. As a result, Amir never truly mastered anything, and over time, his dreams began to feel more like distant fantasies, and with that, the cycle continued. Another generation learned the value of discipline, as Amir had once learned, through patience, persistence, and unwavering commitment to the journey. Revelation related, revelation related, revelation related, related. Amir smiled, remembering the story of the seed. "It's not about the destination," he said. "It's about the discipline to keep growing, one day at a time." "Why do you come here every day, sir?" the boy asked. Just then, a young boy came walking by, full of energy and curiosity. He stopped when he saw Amir sitting by the water. One day, many years later, Amir returned to the same riverbank where he had met Hakim. He had become a skilled musician, an accomplished artist, and a scholar in his field. He had learned the value of persistence, of showing up every day to do the work. As he sat by the river, he thought of Hakim and wondered where he had gone. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Amir began to notice changes. He wasn't the same boy who had given up on his dreams so easily. Slowly, but surely, he was becoming the person he had always dreamed of being, not because of his talent, but because of his discipline. Amir sat there for a while, thinking about what the old man had said. He felt a sense of peace, as though a light had been turned on inside him. The next morning, instead of picking up a new book and then abandoning it, Amir decided to stick with one thing. He picked up his flute again, and even though his fingers were stiff, he played the same note over and over until it sounded just a little bit better. He didn't rush. He simply enjoyed the process. Hakim smiled kindly. "Discipline doesn't come all at once, Amir. It's a seed that you plant in your heart. And like any seed, it takes time to grow. But every small step you take, every day you show up and do the work, adds another inch to that growth. Eventually, you'll look back and realize how far you've come." "I don't know if I can be as disciplined as that tree," Amir said, a hint of doubt in his voice. Amir listened intently, the weight of the story sinking into his heart. He thought about his own life, the dreams he had started but abandoned, the projects he had left unfinished, the passions he had let slip away because he didn't want to put in the hard work required to see them through. Hakim looked at Amir. "You see, my young friend, discipline is like that seed. It's about showing up, even when things seem hard. It's about continuing to grow, even when you don't see immediate results. It's not always glamorous, and the path isn't always clear. But if you remain disciplined, you will eventually become something extraordinary." The seed, now a tree, had realized that it was never about the struggles it faced along the way, but about its commitment to growth. It had chosen to stay in the soil, to push through the difficulties, to remain disciplined, even when it couldn't see the end result. Seasons changed and years passed. The small plant became a mighty tree. Its roots stretched deep into the earth. Its branches reached high into the sky. Birds nested in its branches, children played in its shade, and travelers rested by its trunk. It had become an integral part of the forest, a symbol of resilience, strength, and above all, discipline. As it grew, the shoot encountered more obstacles. There were rocks in its path, thorns that scratched its leaves, other plants competing for sunlight. But every time something stood in its way, the plant didn't quit. It found a way to adapt and moved forward. Days passed, then weeks, and the seed began to sprout. At first, It was just a tiny green shoot pushing through the soil. It was so fragile, so small. Sometimes the wind would blow, and it would feel weak. Other times the rain would come too hard, and the young shoot would feel as if it might drown. But it never gave up. It kept pushing upward, slowly but surely, following the discipline of nature. But then the seed remembered the promise it had made: to grow, no matter what. The seed was buried deep in the soil, and at first it couldn't see anything. It could hear the wind, feel the rain, and sense the warmth of the sun, but it was too deep in the soil to see any of it. It began to wonder, why should I stay here in the darkness? There's nothing to see. The soil is cold, and I'm all alone. Long ago, in a vast forest, there was a tiny seed, Hakim began. This seed was unlike any other. It wasn't the most beautiful seed, or the most extraordinary. It was simply an ordinary seed, with the potential to become something great, but only if it followed one simple rule. It had to remain planted and grow, no matter what. Hakim paused, as if considering the question. Then he said, "Let me tell you a story." Amir frowned. "But you've already caught enough fish to last a lifetime. Why continue?" Hakim smiled and looked at the boy. "It's not about the fish, my young friend," he said. "It's about the patience, the consistency, and the discipline to show up every day, regardless of the outcome." "Why do you fish here every day, even though you've caught so many fish already?" Amir asked. One afternoon, while walking by the river, Amir met an old man who was sitting by the water, fishing quietly. His name was Hakim, and he had lived in the village for many years, earning the respect of everyone around him, not just because of his wisdom, but because of his unwavering discipline. His hands were calloused from years of working in the fields, and his face carried the deep lines of experience. There was something about him that intrigued Amir, so he sat down beside him.